Hi friends, my name is Akil Ahmed, and in this particular video tutorial we will see how we can rename all files from a folder using SSIS. So the agenda of today's video tutorial is that we will see how can we rename all files from a folder. So without wasting further time, let's jump to the demo. So in my D files location, I got some CSV files like email.csv, employee.csv and the student.csv. So what I want to do, that I want to rename all file and I want to append underscore current date time to every file. So after renaming the file, the email.csv file should be converted to 2024-06-18. 18th June is current date, so that's why I appended the current date time in the mmdd format. So I want to do this for all files in a folder. Okay, so how we can automate this thing using SSIS, so that we will see. Okay, so the first challenge is like how we can get the current date time in the mmdd format. So this can be achieved easily using the SQL query. So we can write a SQL query to get the current date time. So we can take help from the ChatGPT to provide the SQL query to us to get the current date time in the mmdd format. So I can ask it how to get the current date in mmdd format in SQL Server. Okay, so I can give the requirement, and according to the requirement it can generate the query. So this is the query. So I can copy the query from here and then I can test the SQL query on the SQL instance. So let me execute the query. So this is exactly giving the current date time in the mmdd format. So this is working absolutely good. So now what we want is that we will actually copy this particular query and then we'll execute the query in a SSIS package and we'll assign this value to a SSIS variable. So this is my blank SSIS package that I will be using today. So we can use the execute SQL task to run the query. Okay, so we can call the execute SQL task as get the current date. Okay, and then we can right click and configure the execute SQL task. So we can make a connection here, new connection. We can take any connection which is connecting to any database, because it doesn't matter like which database it is going to connect. So in the SQL statement we can paste the query. So click OK. Now we need to assign this value to an SSIS variable, but right now we don't have any variables, so we will create some variables here. The first variable that I will create is the current date. So I can call it as current date, and the data type will be string here, and I can provide the date in a mmdd format. So for example, I can provide any date here like 2020-01-01. Okay, this value will be changed when the package will run. So now we need to use this SSIS variable inside the execute SQL task. So the result set will be single row, and now inside the result set we can click on add. The result set name will be 0 and we can use the current date variable here. So this is good, we can click on OK. So we have configured the task to get the current date time from the SQL server. So this is fine. Now it comes the main thing, like how we are going to rename the file. So the file renaming can be done using the file system task, and to rename more than one file we can use the for each loop container. So that's good. But how we are going to append the current date time into the file name? So that's the main question. So we need to use some variables here. For example, the first variable we will use is the source folder path, because we need to know in which folder we want to loop through the files. So I can create a variable as the name source folder. The data type will be string here, and we need to provide the path of the source folder. So I can copy the path from here, paste the value here. Now we also need the file path, like which file you are going to rename. So for example, I want to rename this file email.csv. So this value will be get at the time of looping through the files using the for each loop container, but we can create a variable to hold that particular value. So I can create a variable named FilePath, and the data type will be string of course, and I can provide an initial value here email.csv. Now to rename the file, somehow we need to get this particular value email.csv so that we can append the current date time with. Somehow we need to get the file name from the file path. So we can create another variable, and I can call the variable as FileName. The data type will be string here, and this should be automatically get the value from the file path. Okay, so we can use the either C# code to get the value of the file name from file path, or we can use the SSIS expression as well to get the file name from the file path. So we can use the expression. So again we can take help from the ChatGPT and we can ask how to get file name from file path using SSIS expression. You can also Google it and you can find the value, but you can also take help from the ChatGPT. It can be helpful as well. Okay, so it has provided the expression here. So I can copy this expression and then I can go to the expression and I can paste the expression. You can click on evaluate expression. So this is returning us the file name from the file path. This is working fine, but there is one more thing. Because we want to append the current date time after the file name, and we don't need the .csv. .csv can be added later, but we want to append the current date after the email. Okay, so somehow we need to replace the .csv with a blank string. Okay, so how we can do that? We can use the replace method here, replace, and then in the double quote I want to replace .csv with a blank string. Okay, so this is how you can do the replace. You can check the string methods and there is a replace method here. Okay, so that you can use, so that in the replace the first input parameter will be the actual value, then in the search expression you need to provide this value like .csv, and in the replace expression you need to provide this value that I want to replace with the empty string. So now if I click on evaluate expression, then the .csv has been removed. So now I only got the actual file name email. So I can click on OK. So you can see there is an fx sign before the file name. So this means that the value of the file name is coming from the expression. So this is absolutely fine. Now the last variable that I want is the final file name. Final file name will be, or you can say renamed file name. So the renamed file name will be something like that source folder, then the email and underscore current date .csv. Okay, so I can create a new variable here and I can call it as FinalFilePath. Okay, and the data type will be string here, and this will be get from the expression as well, of course, because we need to concatenate some of the variables here. So the first variable we will use is the source folder. So you can use the source folder here. If you want to rename the file at different location, for example you want to move the file, so you can use for example dest folder here as well, that's okay. So now we are using the source folder. Now we need to append the backslash here, so I can put plus, then in the double quote, if you need to use the backslash, then you need to use it 2 times, then end the double quote. Now if you click on evaluate expression, so a backslash has been added here. Now we need to append the file name, so I can put a plus sign here and then I can just drag and drop the file name. Now if you click on evaluate expression, then the email has been added. Now after the file name we need to add the underscore, so I can put the double quote, underscore and the double quote. So now an underscore should be added. Okay, now after the underscore I need the current date, so I can put a plus sign and then I can just drag and drop the current date here. Now click on evaluate expression, so the current date has been added as well. Now after this I need the .csv, so I can put double quote .csv and the double quote. Now click on evaluate expression, so now .csv has been added as well. So this is the final file path. So this is done. I will share this script with you maybe in the description of the video. So now you can click on OK. So all the expressions are created. Now we can simply use a for each loop container which can just loop through all the files and can rename the file. So we can connect the execute SQL task with the for each loop container, because before running the for each loop container we should get the current date and should assign to the current date SSIS variable. Now we can configure the for each loop container. In the for each loop container we will be using the for each loop file enumerator. Now in the expression we can assign the directory property value from the source folder, like in which folder you want to loop through the files. So I can click on OK. Okay, now I want to loop through only the CSV file, so I can put star.csv here. The retrieve file name will be fully qualified so that it can get the full file path. Now I can go to the variable mapping, and inside the variable mapping I want to assign the full path to the file path SSIS variable. Now I can click on OK. So we have configured the for each loop container. Now we can use the file system task to actually rename the file. Okay, so I can configure the file system task here. the first thing you need to do is set the correct operation. So the operation will be rename files. Now you can configure the source connection. Is source path variable, so we can set to true because our source path is assigned inside a SSIS variable. So the SSIS variable is the file path. Okay, now is destination path variable, so we can set it to true. The destination variable is inside the final dest path, final file path. Okay, so we have select the final file path here. Override destination, so it's saying like if the file already exists with the same name, then do you want to override? So we can say yeah, true, you can override. So these are the settings that you need to do. Now you can click on OK. So we have configured our SSIS package to rename all the files from a folder. So if you see here in the D files location, right now we got 3 files. Now when the package will run, then all 3 files should be renamed and the current date time should be appended to every file. So the rename operation was very quick. Now we can go to the D files location and then we can see that the current date time has been appended to all the 3 files. Okay, so guys, this was how like you can rename all files in a folder. And if you got any question, then you can comment on the video. Thank you guys for watching the video, and if you like the video, then please click the like button. Do subscribe to our channel, press the bell icon and click on all so that you will be notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much.